Hi there, this is Ali Duran with IBM Business Analytics Worldwide. Today I'm going to be talking about how you can install Planning Analytics Workspace on a non-system drive when you're installing it on a Windows 2016 virtual server. I'll do this from start to finish, so you can also perform the same installation by yourself. And for today's demo or installation, I'm going to be using a brand new soft layer Windows 2016 server. The steps are going to be, first of all, I need to install Docker. So I will be using the Docker website to be able to install this with the commands that are provided by Docker, the PowerShell scripts. Then I will be adding a Docker daemon file so that I can change the directory for the container installation for all my containers that will be running. Later on, I will be running a Hello World container. This is the test container that Docker provides, and show you what type of an error message you can be experiencing when you're trying to install this on a non-system drive on a virtual server. Afterwards, I will show you how you can fix this issue by changing a local security policy. And during those changes that I'm doing, I'm going to be stopping and restarting the server a few times, and for those I'll be pausing the server. And then finally, we're going to be installing Planning Analytics Workspace, and I'll show you where the containers will reside on the non-system drive. So let's go ahead and start. I will be starting with the Docker installation first, and for that I'm going to need a PowerShell script window. So I'm going to open up that. And if you have followed the previous videos on how to install Planning Analytics Workspace, you can watch them one more time in here. These are from, again, start to finish, how you can install Planning Analytics Workspace on a system drive essentially, and talks to you about how to install Planning Analytics locally, as well as how you can install Workspace and Planning Analytics for Excel add-in, and how you can make some adjustments in your system so that everything functions well with each other. Okay. Now for this, again, we're going to start with our Docker installation. So I'm going to be going to the Docker website for Windows Docker Enterprise Edition installation. Now keep in mind, if you're a Windows 2016, if you own a Windows 2016 server, Docker Enterprise Edition comes without any additional licensing requirements. It comes as a part of your Windows license. So you don't have to pay additional or anything extra for the Enterprise Edition. So I'll go ahead and copy here and then paste it and then hit enter. What it's going to do is it's going to communicate with Docker from Windows 2016 using the PowerShell script. But if it's your first time doing this, you will be getting a requirement, which is for a NuGet. Okay, so you need to accept this. So you say yes, hit enter, and what it's going to do is it's going to communicate with Docker and install the package that is required. Okay. Once the installation is done, it's going to tell you that it's done by opening the script window one more time, or the script section one more time, so you can continue to add your additional scripts. Now the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install the package. I'll just go ahead and paste it over here and then hit enter one more time. So this is going to reach out to Docker and then reinstall it. Now once the installation is done, it's going to require us to restart the server as well. So we'll go ahead and wait for that. Now this installation could take anywhere between, depending on your connection type, it can take anywhere between 5 minutes to more. I'll occasionally, like I mentioned earlier, pause it when there's a longer duration of time is required, so that you don't have to wait for me pulling the content. But in most cases, if you have a good internet connection, this should be performing quite fast. Okay, so it looks like my installation is now complete. I have the Docker version 17.0.62 Enterprise Edition 13 installed on my server, and there's a warning sign in here that says, okay, restart is required to enable the containers feature, so I'm going to have to restart my machine. For that, you can run a PowerShell script restart computer. So at this point I'm going to pause the video, and then I'll come back to this one more time afterwards. Okay, now that Docker is installed, we can go ahead and verify that after you restart your server. I can go into services, and within the services find the service called Docker, and you can see that Docker is now running and it's installed on my server. Now we can continue to run the Hello World Nano server in here if we want to, but what I really want to do is change the installation directory so that, you know, going forward Docker doesn't install it on my C drive, which is my system drive, but will install it on the D drive. Just to give you an idea, here's my C drive, and then here's my D drive. Both of them are available to me, but I have only a limited amount of disk space on C, but a lot larger space on D drive. So just to not run out of hard drive space, I'll be using the D drive for my installations. Now, in order to be able to change the installation directory for Docker, or all the container installations for Docker, I need to be defining a daemon file. Now, to do that, you need to be going to this hidden directory. Now, if you go into your C drive, initially, you won't be seeing that directory. But what you need to do is, turn on the view and hidden items. Then you will be seeing a directory called program data. Double click that, select it, and then you will be seeing a Docker directory in there as well. Now, under Docker directory, what you need to find is the folder called config, and this is where you will be creating your daemon.json file. Now, creating the daemon.json file is quite simple. You can use your favorite text editor and create a text file in there. So I'll start with Notepad first. I will call this one daemon, and we'll change the file type later on. So I'm creating it as daemon as a text file first, and I'm going to go in and with Notepad++, and we'll start writing our code. Now for this one, again, opening a square bracket, and what we need is data root is the directory that we would like to point it to. Then later define where we want these files to be residing. Now for me, I have, like I mentioned earlier, I have two drives, C and D, so I'm going to be moving it to D. Now the best practice in here is to use the // in here, and as a requirement for Docker. So the next thing I want to add here is the location of where I want these files. Now there's no folder in here, as you can see, other than a single one that I have for FTP, which is where I put all my files in. But what I want to create is a new one. I'll call this one Ali Docker directory, and then close my double quotes, and then close my square bracket as well. Now at this point, if you save the file, again, you will be seeing that the file is going to be saved as txt. So if you have Notepad++ or any of the other text editors that you're using, you can go save as, and then change the file type to JSON, because that's the file type we're going to be using, daemon.json. Then I can just save this file. Okay. From here on, there are a couple things that you need to do. Now, I'm creating the ali.docker directory on the D drive, and that's where I want my files to go, right? For Docker to realize that I've made this change, I need to restart my Docker service. You can do it two ways. You can either go into your PowerShell script. We'll leave this one window open here so you can see it. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the service Docker first, and then restart that service so that you can see that that directory is going to be created on my left hand side. So to stop the service, I'm going to use a call from PowerShell, stop service Docker. Okay, And then to start it, I'm going to use the same command, but with start this time, start service Docker. Okay. Now, as I started the service on the left-hand side, you're seeing that there's something happening. A new directory has been now created on the left-hand side. And then you can see that there are some additional folders that are being created. These are all the folders that Docker requires or needs in order to be able to operate. Okay, so these are now being created dynamically for me, but I still have to check if my installation is done right or not. Like I mentioned, we're not using our system drive. We're using a swappable disk on the D drive as here, and we'll see what kind of error messages that we can potentially get when we try to install it on a D drive. So I'm going to go back to my Docker Enterprise installation directions here, and then just copy this hello world nano server from Docker, or the command for it. Now that my service is running, I can just copy paste it in here and run it. So it's going to say, okay, I cannot find it locally, so I'm going to go ahead and install it from Docker library. So it's downloading. Oops, as you can see, there's an error message in here. C program files docker exe failed to register, layer reex, blah blah. There's a lot of more information in here, but you can see that it's failed at Win32 open, right? There's an access is denied error that you're going to be getting. Now this is very common, especially when you're installing into virtual drives. Thanks to one of my colleagues, Kent, now we have a solution for this. We have found out that this is basically a Windows security issue that you need to be fixing. And for that, in order to fix that, you need to make a quick change in your local security policy. Now if you go back to your Windows Start menu and search for local security policy, you'll be finding that as a desktop app. You can open that one up. And what we're looking for in this local security policy window is the Advanced Audit Policy Configuration. This is the folder that we need. Underneath that, you're going to see another folder called System Audit Policies. Expand that one as well. And what you want to find here is the Object Access section. Okay. So now within the Object Access section, there's going to be a lot of additional subcategories, but what we're really interested in is the Audit for Removable Storage. This is the one that we need. We need to change that. As you can see, it says not configured in here. And if I double click and open it up, it's going to also looks like there's nothing selected in here. But in order for Docker to operate and in order for it to be able to function, what we need to do is we need to first of all enable this and select these two sections in here, success and failure, and hit apply. Okay, now I have configured the audit removable storage, success and failure. So I'll close this one, come back in here, and then find that local security policy app one more time. Now this time I'm going to go back, find that object access and the audit removable storage. Again, double click, and I'm going to uncheck these ones that I have selected just a second ago, and then reapply it. Now this could be a bug in the Windows system, or it could be that you need to select these for Windows to realize that there is a change that is happening. But after you make these changes, what you need to also do is restart your server. So I'm going to go back and then restart my computer one more time, and I'll pause the installation or the recording again, and we'll come back and rerun the same queries or the calls that we have done here earlier for the Docker container to run the Hello World Nano server, and then we'll see what difference it's going to make. Okay, my computer or my server is now restarted, and I'm ready to rerun the query that I have run earlier, which was here, if you remember, Docker container run Hello World Nano server. We're going to run that one more time. I'm going to just go back to my PowerShell script and run it one more time. Again, it's going to say it couldn't find the Nano server locally. it's downloading it from the Docker server itself. Now it's going to continue, and as you can see, we don't get that error message again. Now it's extracting all the containers that are associated with this little container, or the nano server that we have that will be running the Docker run hello world. Now, to verify that, you can go to your Docker installation directory that you have created. In my case, I called it Ali Docker, and within there, what you need to be looking for is a couple folders in here. You can look at the Windows filter folder, which is where you're going to be seeing some of the installation that is happening. And the other folder you can look at is the containers folder. If you have any containers that are pre-populated or populated, you will be seeing them in here as well. Okay. So once that is run and the containers are extracted, we will be seeing the hello world message if everything is working well. And at that point, we'll be ready to continue our installation with Planning Analytics Workspace on a non-system drive as well. Now we have 155 megabytes has been extracted so far out of the hello world container. It's still continuing and doing its work. Once this is completely done, we will be able to continue our work as well. Okay. Okay, our installation is now complete. We got the hello from Docker message. That means that our containers are now running on our D drive. We can continue with our installation of Planning Analytics Workspace. Now for this scenario, I'm going to need to install Docker Compose as well. You can either download Docker Compose from the Docker installation location, or you can run a command in order to be able to install it. So here's an example command that Docker gives you under Docker documentation for Compose installation for Windows 2016. So I'm going to just copy this one. This is the 1.21.2 Docker Compose version, which is the latest. Here is an error message that you can get, because if you don't have the TLS 1.2, this is the error message that you should be getting, which is normal. So we'll go ahead and copy this command in order to be able to run it. So I just ran that. Now I can go back and then run that same command that I was trying to run earlier. Here's for Docker Compose, which will place the Docker Compose into the same directory as Docker. Okay, Docker Compose installation is also complete. All I need to do now is install my Planning Analytics Workspace onto my D drive. So I'm going to go into my D drive and then look at my directory in there. So as you can see, I can have the Ali Docker and the FTP directory. Within the FTP directory, I should have another directory in there for the extracted workspace files. Now, like I mentioned earlier, if you haven't done the workspace installation before, there are a couple places you can get your installation files. One of them is the Fix Central that we have, IBM Planning Analytics Fix Central. So if you go into Fix Central Planning Analytics downloads in Google, for instance, you'll be able to find them. And here's a link to Planning Analytics Local, Workspace Local 2.0.17. Now this requires for you to have an IBM ID and an account that is associated with Planning Analytics. If you have that account associated with it, you can download it directly from our Fix Central with all the latest releases that we have. If you also prefer, you can also go to Passport Advantage, which is for all IBM clients again, and you can download it directly from Passport Advantage for all the products that we release as well. Now, let's go back to the installation section in here. Now we have installed the Docker Compose. Now we have on the right hand side, as you can see, I have the extracted Workspace local version that I have and that I would like to install on my machine. Now all I need to do at this point is to run the call that will install the Planning Analytics Workspace onto my Windows machine. So for that, I'm going to use a // and start. That's the command that we use, and then hit enter. Let's try it one more time. Oh, I didn't cd into the location. Okay, for that, let's go then. Okay, so we're in that directory now. Now I can go in and run that start command, hit enter, and then the first question that you will be getting is, do you want to run software from this untrusted publisher? And it's published by IBM Canada Limited, so yes is the answer to get to that. Sorry, always run is the answer that I have. And once you start running, what it's going to do is it's going to extract certain files. This is a large installation file that we have. There are going to be some images that it's going to extract. And as the installation continues and finishes, I'm going to show you the end result as well. At this point, I'm going to pause the video so you don't have to watch the full installation that the system is doing by itself. Okay, our installation is now complete, and we can go ahead and check our D drive in this case and take a look at what has been installed so far. Under the containers, you can see that there's a new container in here that was recently installed, as well as if I look into a Windows filter section in here, you're going to see that there will be a bunch of new folders and created for each of these containers that we will be running with Planning Analytics Workspace. From here on, all you need to do is start your administration tool and start your configuration for Planning Analytics Workspace. This was the installation for Planning Analytics Workspace on Windows 2016 servers, especially if you're running on a non-system drive. If you'd like to install Planning Analytics Workspace on a non-system drive. If you have any questions, as usual, keep us posted, and thank you for watching.